Good Monday morning, everyone. This is TheStreet Live. I'm Jeff Mark, Senior Portfolio Analyst at Action Alerts Plus. I'm standing live on the floor of the New York Stock Exchange with Jim Cramer. Jim, markets are higher to kick off the week. We are seeing some green. We're going to get into a lot of the big deals of the day, but first, just what's your overall pulse on the market today?
I don't like August. I always like July. I don't like August because there's always a swoon. And anyone who remembers 1987 knows that there was a swoon in mid to late August that just crushed you. So those who are traders, I would take a little off. Those who are investors, maybe wait until you get better prices. There's unless your stock's been hit. Now, if your stock's been hit, you're a little immunized. It's kind of like, COVID. You got immunized the wrong way. I mean, our country's being immunized the right way and the wrong way. It's very funny. My doctor said, by the way, if you get it, it means you really won't get it. No, thank you. But I genuinely, I got to tell you, I think that I'm just nervous. I'm a little nervous.
Yeah, and we got the jobs number coming up, too, and that always gives you a good sign of what the strength of the labor market.
Well, I think that the clock feels very ticking on Powell. That there's just a lot of people who think that Chairman Powell is behind the curve. You never hear anyone say that he's okay. I think he's okay, but I feel so alone in saying that Powell is doing it right.
All right, let's get into some news. Let's start with from over the weekend. We're seeing a lot more progress made on that infrastructure package. Yeah. Last week we were talking about Nucor. It's an Action Alerts Plus name. Very strong week last week in anticipation of that. What are some other infrastructure plays you think? Martin Marietta, that's always a good one. You've had them on.
Martin Marietta Materials is very good, and Vulcan Materials. But let's talk about Nucor for a second. Nucor, the numbers are way too low now. I mean, if you listen to Caterpillar, they're talking about a dramatic increase, recent. And one of the reasons why Caterpillar was crushed is they said, look, this most recent increase is really bad. And I just feel strongly that Nucor, which we bought all the way down, was actually the subject, along with Win, which is more difficult. We can talk about that. It was the subject of our Action Alerts conference call where I said, I am not this wrong on Nucor. This is too great a company. Nucor has multi-year, not 1 year, and yet it sells at 5 times earnings. How crazy is that? The lowest multiples other than that is AbbVie. And I said this morning, AbbVie's very vulnerable. Very, very vulnerable to takeout. Very vulnerable to activists. But I feel, AbbVie's really big on takeout. I shouldn't say it, but the breakup, maybe a change of management. But I think Nucor may be the cheapest stock in our portfolio.
Yeah, that's Nucor is an interesting one. I did see it was up higher again, off again that anticipation of an infrastructure package.
I mean, anything, if you see the word bridge, that's Nucor, okay? If you see anything involving pipe, that's Nucor. If you see anything involving buildings, that's Nucor. They have set themselves up for this infrastructure bill, and I think that they have, remember, they're the cleanest because they use recycle, so they're fine when it comes to anything EPA related. Cleveland Cliffs is cheaper, but Nucor's finer.
Yeah, and car production too, that's always a big thing. And Ford was talking about production picking up in the second half on their earnings call last week.
Yeah, Ford should be higher. I mean, I think Ford reported a great quarter. And then Ford sold off badly on Friday, which made no sense to me whatsoever. I mean, what are you doing? Ford is hitting on all cylinders. The guy really basically raised 2022 dramatically. OnSemi reported a really good number. They make semis for cars. Texas Instruments semis for cars. Global Foundries is going to be making a lot of semis. That's the foundry that a lot of people use. I just think that Ford, you're getting an opportunity to buy Ford at a price below where they reported. I mean, it's crazy. Buy Ford.
All right, let's get into some of the deals of today. Square announced last night they will be buying an Australian fintech Afterpay for $29 billion. You just spoke with the CFO of Square. What do you think about this deal?
Let's distinguish between what I think, which is it was an overpay because I think buy now, pay later is something they could have developed, to what TheStreet thinks, which is that there's no wrong that Square can do. The Street feels no wrong Square can do, and yet they didn't give PayPal any slack. So I think that subscribers and club members of Action Alert understand that while Square is a good company, PayPal is a great company, they have buy now, pay later, and these guys needed to do that just to keep up with Square.
Yeah, and I think it's pretty inevitable that Square was going to get into this buy now, pay later space, right? PayPal's in it, Affirm, Klarna. On the Goldman quarter, there were some rumors that Apple and Goldman Sachs could be teaming up for a product as well. So it's clearly a low barrier of entry. This was an inevitable move for them.
No, she's talking about trillions of dollars. I'm reading it, the CFO. Trillions of dollars in business, and they only own 2%. And yes, it can go up. And the Cash App is phenomenally successful among millennials. I just feel like that when you buy a stock on an all-stock deal and you make a lot of money, that's very lucky. And I mean that. It's very lucky. And sometimes it's better to be lucky than good. But if I own Square, I would take something off the table right here.
All right, now let's talk about, we got into the fintech deal. Let's move into the industrials. Parker-Hannifin announced a roughly $8 billion deal. Parker-Hannifin's a motion and controls company. They're buying a British company called, I'm not too familiar, Meggitt. Yeah, it's really to boost their aerospace business. So Jim, my question to you is this just a sign that maybe companies want to get into aerospace now because the turn is coming?
And I think that Honeywell, if you notice it, started to come back up as people realize, wait a second, aerospace is going to come back. Now, I know Calhoun is very bullish on China. Why? Yes, because they feel that China has no choice. Now, we're right now in a thaw in relations with China. They've stopped. They've let some banks in to do things. They recognize that they've hurt American investors. Now, I don't trust them. I think it's a false thaw. But if I were them, I would certify Boeing for 737 and buy some, and then make us feel like that they are they're back to the same old ways. Boeing's the most obvious way to do that. Otherwise, you have to do it with soy.
So let's get into another news. Zoom over the weekend settled an $85 million lawsuit over some privacy. It goes back to the Zoom bombing that happened frequently during the pandemic when people were just crashing into other Zooms. Now, look, privacy is always an important topic with the consumers, and it's especially important in today's world with everyone working from home in this hybrid world environment. So, do you think Zoom is just something that they can just easily get past off?
Yes, they did that. The 9 deal, and that is what I think is going to make it so that people are trying to figure out whether you've got something there, because you call center. Because I think that Zoom has to be more integrated into corporate, and this can really help. And the corporate's not going to be put off by this basically payoff. They had to pay what they had to. I like the stock, believe it or not. My stepson works there, but I like the stock just because I am a huge believer that Zoom is here to stay. But they have to, as I've said over and over again, expand beyond Zoom. And they did this call center, and that company's incredibly successful. So I think we have to wait and see. That's not a bad idea to merge with that.
Are you positive on the rebound in enterprise spending as a whole? Well, Cisco is an Action Alerts Plus name.
Yes, I think that enterprise spending is one of the reasons why you wanted to buy. If you're Eric Yuan, you see that the enterprise is doing very, very well now, and you need that call center business as a good merger with Zoom. People regard Zoom as being a totally pandemic story. But when you buy the call center company, it becomes an enterprise story, and therefore it's not going anywhere.
All right, you touched on this a little bit earlier. Just August, sometimes it could be a little bit choppy in trading. Just any general tips to provide the audience on how to navigate such potential choppy waters?
Well, let's say you're up huge. Advanced Micro, Square. There's nothing wrong with taking off a 10th of your position or even a 15th. Or 20th. And the reason I say that is because this is something, by the way, that Josh Brown was saying. Ever since the Robinhood people got into the market's been straight up, okay? I now feel that the risk to the downside is you have a lot of people who have not experienced a downturn. And what are they going to do? Are they going to just hold on, buy more, or are they out of money? So I think what you want to do is prepare yourself. If you have a stock that's up huge, you take a little off. If you have a stock that's down huge, you do some buying.
So the market's been straight up, but there's been a lot of rotational action underneath. So I don't want to put words in your mouth, but is this really just looking at what's up, taking some profits then, and then redeploying that capital into the stocks that have fallen, say, 20% off their highs?
Or take Goldman, which we sold. Admittedly, it went higher after we sold it, but we bought Wells, and we have Wells, and we have Morgan Stanley. Yep. If I own Goldman up 9, today, I would sell some of that Goldman because Goldman is vulnerable. I think Goldman's going up because they might be doing buy now, pay later with Apple. And they may not be. So, I can't say, but I know that you'll never know.
All right, let's leave it there for today. That's the show. I'm Jeff Marks. We'll see you tomorrow.